Awesome. So, tonight I have some pretty exciting news. Just to kind of review where our assessed valuation came in at and then what our recommended rates will be. Our post BOE assessed valuation, BOE meaning Board of Equalization, assessed valuation, we came in at a total of $6,380,599, or $380,599,600 in assessed valuation. So this is an overall 11.91% over last year. You'll notice that column for last year says post-recoupment, 2022 assessed valuation. So when we levy our rate during the year, there are some claims that are from protested taxes that are settled. I then go through a recoupment process, so the values that you see there are based on my post-recoupment values. So that was a $678 million, $855,460 assessed valuation change in total. Our largest change, of course, was agriculture, which in our district is mostly our golf courses. The other change of note, of course, is our residential, which, of course, we have a very, very strong market value and resale value as well. Our property that I would say is most at risk is our assessed valuation based on our commercial property. As we drive through the Parkway School District or in any areas in St. Louis County, we do see a lot of lease, for lease signs and such. So based on their assessed valuation, they are doing it based on the property in value, not necessarily on the occupancy. So that may be highly contested with the protest based on their occupancy. So more to come on that. When we look at what are the components that made up that total increase, new construction in total made up just over 44 million. So 15,028 in residential increase, commercial only 1,013,500, and then a personal property increase of 28,164,590. The gain on existing property value was 634,649,370, or 11.13% of the 11.91% gain. If we look at just growth without new construction by property class, residential grew by 16%, agriculture by 56%, and commercial just over 4%. Remember, this year our CPI was 6.5%. However, when we run that through the calculator, the Hancock Amendment actually caps that at a 5% growth. So year over year, even though we have 16% growth in residential value, does not mean that we get 16% additional revenue. So you'll see later in the presentation where that has then caused our residential rate to decrease. Just to recap what our percentages of total property class, residential real estate is our largest property class with at 66%. Agriculture just kind of comes in there at a smidgen. Real estate, commercial real estate 21%, and personal property at 13%. All right, so now the good stuff. So as you know, traditionally Parkway has had a long history of having a voluntary rollback on the residential rate. This dates back to 2007 with the last tax rate increase initiative that was passed. In 2020, we actually utilized a portion of that voluntary rollback when we had some financial cuts in the financial institution tax. Since then, we've had growth not only in interest income, because we now have year-round cash, which is phenomenal, and interest rates are over 5% for the district. In addition to that, we also have fully funded transportation, which we know when the legislature actually appropriated that the first time, it was for 1 year only. And since then, they have continued this with our second year of that. So with those two major components and the growth in our property, I've recommended that we increase our rollback by another 10 cents on the residential rate. That is approximately $4.2 million. So currently we have a 15-cent rollback. I'm recommending an additional 10, so that would mean just over 25 cents as that voluntary rollback with an approximate value of $9.8 million. Any questions? Awesome. Another component of our property tax is recoupment. So we are able to calculate recoupment on our property classes based on the settlements of the property taxes that are filed under protest. So currently, we have approved recoupment of $4.6 million. So we have some recoupment from 2022 that we did not levy, $3.4 million, and then from this current year is calculated just around $1.2 million. By property class, we have that broken down $1.6 million in residential, only $3,800 in agriculture, and in commercial, just over $3 million. So for that total of $4.66 million. Our recommendation is to levy the commercial and the agricultural rate that is available. So that is an estimated $3,042,000. The blended rate on that would be just over 4 cents, so 0.0477. So that would be in addition to the agricultural rate of 1.838, in addition to the commercial rate of 0.2333. Any questions on that? Then we have essentially 1 year on a portion of the residential or 2 years on a remaining part of the residential to levy. But the benefit that we're already receiving is our tax rate is slightly rolled up based on the settlements that have taken place. So combining not only our tax rate calculation, rolling back 10 cents on our residential rate, plus adding that blended rate in for the recoupment on the agriculture and the commercial. These are our operating levy by property class rates. As you can see, majority of them are estimated rollbacks from last year. So our residential rate, it is a rollback of $35.98. So a little bit over 10% rollback on there. Our agricultural has a rollback of 0.5539. Our commercial has an increase of the 0.2662, but of that, 0.2333 is directly related to the recoupment. And so our blended rate, the total change is a change of 0.2096. Once we look at the total rate, so that's with the debt service, so when you receive your home property tax bill, it is this total rate that shows. You can see that same change is in effect by property tax, by property class, sorry. So residential, it's 3.2883. It's a decrease of 0.3598. Agricultural, 2.3027, a decrease of 0.5539. Commercial, 5.1134, and that is an increase of 0.2662. Personal property remains the same at 4.2608, and our blended rate of 3.7885 is a decrease of 0.2096. Any questions? Awesome. So the way that we calculate the tax rate is based on the property class, but the way that we report our revenue is by governmental fund. So we break down that same 3.7885 and divide it to our different funds that the revenue will be posted to. So general fund, 1.1378, special or teachers fund, 2.113, capital projects, 0.0477, and debt service of 49 cents. Any questions? Awesome. So when we take that when we take the rates, we multiply it by the assessed valuation, we divide it by $100 per assessed valuation, and then that becomes our gross revenue by each of our funds. So you can see the property tax, if 100% was collected, we would have a total of $241,729,016. But we know that our collection rate always runs less than 100%. So not only do we pay for our county fees in that, but we also have uncollected, and then of course a reserve for our protested tax in there as well. So we would budget at the 96%. So our budget then moves down to 232,058,519. And that's with the same proposed rates as what we showed previously. When we look at the impact on the homeowner, you can see over the last several years, as our property values have grown, this is residential assessed valuation from 2015 to 2023, our rates have significantly dropped from just over 4.4, so almost 4.5, to the 3.2, let's see. Sorry, I should have written that down. 3.2883. That is our current recommended rate. So just because your property value grows doesn't necessarily mean that your bill your property tax bill grows at that same rate. If we look at that average homeowner and compare and take that home value that increased 16.36% from the prior year, take the personal property increase of 3.47, multiply it by our current rates, the estimated tax bill for this current year would be $2,475. Last year, with the values, it would have been an estimated $2,363. So while our property grew at 16.36%, our amount that we pay in taxes only grew by 4.7%. So the increase of $112. Any questions? Yep. Excellent question. So my debt service is easy because debt service equals my debt service levy. For property tax purposes, the general, special, and capital projects goes into what's called the operating levy. When I'm doing recoupment, because recoupment is one-time revenue, I place that recoupment into the capital projects fund. So you'll notice that the 0.0477 equals the blended rate for the recoupment that I have suggested that we levy. For the general and special fund, I take the rest of my operating rate and I allocate 35% to general fund and then 65% to the teachers fund. And the reason that we put so much in teachers fund, our teachers fund essentially is the fund where all of our expenditures for certified staff, salaries, and benefits are in. So we allocate 65% of our property tax. We also put a portion of our Prop C in there and all of our funds from DESE. And then at the end of the year, we check to make sure, because we can't have a negative fund balance. There are times that we need to make a transfer from the general fund into the teachers fund to make sure that that is in a surplus ending balance. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you very much.